All these homes are absolutely authentic. This is the street that Abraham Lincoln lived on. All the homes have been restored to their original condition. And we're looking down the street away from Lincoln's house right now. I'm going to pan to the left here and get Lincoln's house in on it here shortly. And now coming into view on the far left of the screen, you see right there, dead center, is Abraham Lincoln's home. Started out pretty small. It was a one-story building. They added a second story to it, and then the back addition there that you can see. And we'll be taking a tour of that at about 3:20 this afternoon. This is the Harriet Dean house. Yeah. Back.
The one and only in the state of Illinois. Do you know where the other 5 are? There's 2, so I need you to be a bit more specific. Lincoln Memorial.
What? Yeah. What's the question? I'm sorry.
Mount Rushmore, absolutely. There are 6 national parks dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. You're in the one and only in the state of Illinois. We've got Mount Rushmore. We've got the Lincoln Memorial. There's one more in Washington, D.C.
The theater?
Ford's Theater. Birthplace in Kentucky. And where does he grow up? Boyhood in Indiana.
I didn't know that was national though.
Yes. Well, my name is Mackenzie Randall, and I would like to welcome you to the Lincoln Home National Historic Site. If you're here for the 315 tour, I'll be taking you into the home. Now, Mr. Lincoln moves into that house in 1844. When he moves in, it's a 1.5-story house looking something like this house right here. Well, actually, this house right here. When he moves in, it's got a young wife named Mary and a baby boy named Robert. He'll later have 3 boys born in that house, Eddie, Willie, and Tad. And after each child is born, he'll add on a little bit more to this house until it's the 2 full stories you see today. Now, when the Lincolns are living in that house, Mr. Lincoln is primarily a lawyer. But he's also a politician, a father, a husband, and a neighbor. In short, he's a man, just like all of us. He has hopes and dreams for his nation, hopes and dreams for his family, and hopes and dreams for his career. One of his dreams for his nation is something called the right to rise. The right to rise is basically a story of his life, coming from a one-room log cabin in the backwoods of Kentucky. Basically, if you have the ambition and the ability to do something, you should be allowed to do it. Unfortunately, for most people in the 1850s, this is just not possible. Some groups that weren't treated equally. That's a great question. Since I've got the room, I'll leave it right here.
Go ahead, dear. Going into Abraham Lincoln's house.
United States House.
Yes, I'm walking how tall he was.
Absolutely.
6 feet 4 inches tall. Very good. Does this furniture look like it's very comfortable for a man that tall? No, it doesn't. Abraham Lincoln would actually lay down right in the middle of that floor. And do you know what one of his favorite activities to do to relax was? Read. Very good job. He taught himself how to read as a very young boy, continued his love of reading all the way through adulthood. Now, there's also 4 other young men inside this house. That was the sons, Robert, Edward, William, and Thomas. Thomas is Tad. And they got to hang out here and just play with their toys and play with their games. They would even gather up on the floor and have good wrestling matches and try to pin each other to the ground. Sometimes they try to tackle their dad, Abraham Lincoln, and get him involved in that fight. And does anybody have any pets at home?
Now, who asked me about
Dogs or
horses?
cats or anything?
Horses.
And anything else, birds can be that too. Well, the Lincolns did have some pets. They had a bunch of cats here inside the house and a yellow dog, a yellow lab mix.
There is
a
a
family
white building,
called
looks like a
Byron.
garage.
So there's a
It's
lot
called
of
a carriage
excitement right
house.
here inside of
That's
this
where
room.
the 2
They
horses
even have their
in an old
technology,
Bob would
like
stay.
they have a big screen
carriage
TV to
and a
watch
cab.
TV on. On the table to the
Now-
left is their technology. It's called a
That means
stereo.
that I would like to welcome you to
It's
Mr.
not
Lincoln's
electronic,
home.
but
This is the
it
only home that he ever owned.
1960s.
Most of the black furniture you see in these 2 rooms did belong to the Lincolns, as well as that marble top table over there. Now, if we had visited the Lincolns in 1844, right after they had moved in, Mary would have been standing in his front parlor waiting to greet us. She used her front parlor to host her famous strawberry party, sort of like Tupperware parties are today. It was a time where women could gossip and talk about men.
And that is where
Politics.
Mary,
What's going on in
mother,
Springfield?
sat down right here
Now, in
beside this room
1844,
and helped make clothes for the
we would not
family.
have gone into this
She was
background.
restored by
Because in 1844, that's the master bedroom.
the white
That's where
piece of
Mr.,
cloth is the
Mrs.,
original
and Robert
sleeping
Lincoln
she
would have
made
slept.
for Wilbur.
In 1856, they do add the
So can
second
you
floor onto the
imagine
house, and the main sleeping
Mr.
quarters moved from his first floor to the
Maybe
second.
Mr. Lincoln's voice.
Mr. Lincoln gains his back parlor, which he uses as an office or a study. It's where he meets with law clients, business partners. In fact, in May of 1860, this is where he meets with the Republican delegation from Chicago. They offer him the Republican nomination for president.
In a room where Abraham Lincoln.
And guess what how he answers?
Being a husband and a father.
Not yes,
Pretty neat, isn't it?
not no.
Anybody have any quick questions?
Let me think about it.
Head upstairs.
He thinks about it for 4 days until he writes them a letter saying, yes, I will run for president of the United States. In those days,
If you touch and use the hand.
it wasn't proper for you to seek the job. The
It
job
is the
sought
only
you.
artifact in the house I'm allowed to let you
He
touch.
also probably
It is
has
the
some
original
idea of
handrail.
what the
So
consequences
Mr.
could be
Lincoln
of
himself
running for president of the
touched
United
this
States.
exact
Both for him
handrail, so by touching
and for the
this,
nation.
it's as close as we can get to shaking hands with
Anyone
Abraham
have any
Lincoln.
questions about
When
these
you
two
go back
things?
home to your home in Illinois.
Yes, ma'am.
Is stuff on
And
the
your home
wall?
abroad.
Was sort of like our family room. This is where Lincoln relaxed as a family. William had president her father. Robert would have sat back in the world. A doctor. She did about 12 years before she would relax in these years, so the sleeping habits changed a little.
We're gonna walk into the dining room, take a look at their uniform.
This was a guest room. Wonder how I knew that. I'm so smart.
Now, the Lincolns did share this two-bedroom suite that was a status symbol in those days. Showed you could afford the extra space. Also serves a couple of practical purposes. The first is the death of Eddie at such a young age definitely scars the Lincolns. It feel the death of any child scars parents. So Mary's going to want to keep the younger two boys, Willie and Tad, close to her at night in case they get a call. Sure to be able to wake up and take care of them. So they're going to sleep in her room on a trundle bed until about 1860.
How old were they then?
Willie and Tad?
Yeah, in 1860.
In 1860, Willie's 9, probably going to be 10. Tad's probably 5 or 6. Mr. Lincoln also has this habit of staying up late working on legal documents, political documents. Some of his most famous speeches are written at that desk. So this allows him to get some work done without keeping the family up. If we can make sure we're on the blue carpet. The other original pieces are the chest of drawers and the wardrobe. That being said, he likes this wall. This is the only pattern we're 100% sure of. We found a scrap of it when we were storing the house and were able to count it. We know it came from Paris, France, and we know it came in 3 other colors. A lighter blue, a green, and a red.
The wallpaper or the carpet?
The wallpaper.
Oh.
The carpet is a reproduction and is based on popular 1850s pattern. It's only about the thickness of a table cloth. They are reproduction.
The bed too, the reproduction?
The frame itself is an 1860s antique. The mattress, yes, it is a reproduction. This is a twin of Mr. Lincoln's bed. His bed was bought by the first man to rent this house out from Mr. Lincoln. He was the president of the Pullman Car Company, not the president of Pullman Car Company, Illinois Central Railroad. And he later gets transferred up to Chicago. He takes the furniture he had bought from the Lincolns up with him. Unfortunately, his house burns in 1871 with the Great Chicago Fire. Now we are going to head through Mary's room, and I'll meet in this back hallway.
And then you want to meet here in Mr. Lincoln's. Take a look at the guest room.
Squeeze. A little bit, not too close. Okay, that's good. Sorry. Okay, good.
401, 410. 401, I'm on the right now.
Now, the bed unit in the guest room is the only original Lincoln bedroom. That is because they sold their furniture at a yard sale and rented out the house when they left for Washington. The first renters of the home bought about 80% of the furniture and kept it here while they lived here.
Just don't head down that back stairwell yet.
Why would they have something like that?
Those are called transom windows. That is an 1860s antique. I mean, air conditioner system. Sorry. It is also an 1860s antique. But
That airflow?
airflow, light and air to circulate between the rooms. Now the room on your right would have been Robert's room. He would have had that to himself until about 1860 when he goes off to Exeter boarding school and then on to Harvard. Definitely making the Lincolns very proud. Willie and Tad then moved into this room and I can guarantee you one thing. It was never this clean. Except perhaps when the girl that lived in the room to your left got done cleaning it. She was the hired girl, usually an immigrant, usually from Ireland, Portugal, or a freed African American. She made about $1.
Girls were kind of underrated, weren't they?
Well, she's only spinning from like 10 o'clock at night till about 5 in the morning in this room.
Ah,
But most people in the 1850s don't even have their own room. So having her own room is very luxurious.
yeah, actually, I would imagine it would be.
We can squeeze together in this room. Now the stove did belong to the Lincolns, represents the pinnacle of cooking technology in Springfield in 1860. Mary did a lot of her cooking right there on that stove. Before that, she would have cooked on an open fireplace like most young ladies were doing at this time. Now this room is kind of special because it does show exactly how far the Lincolns have come. Mr. Lincoln comes from a one-room log cabin, a little bit smaller than this room, that he shares with 4 other people in the backwoods of Kentucky. From there, he's eventually able to afford all this, and from here he goes on to the White House. Definitely illustrates his idea of having the right to rise. No matter what your race, gender, or where you come from, you have the ambition and the ability to do something, you should be allowed to do it. I would like to thank you once again for visiting the Lincoln Home National Historic Site. If you have any final questions, please feel free to ask me. If not, sir, if you could open that back door for me. Please watch your step when exiting, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No
Nice
problem.
tour. You did a nice job.
Thank you, sir.
Let's talk about woodwork. I understand that there's some woodwork that we saw on the first floor that was stained. Really stained. And I always thought it was that was a sign of being thrift, inexpensive. It wasn't proper if you had the money to have it not stained or not painted. Is that true?
I don't know that 100%, but as far as being thrifty, I'd say there's a good chance that that is Mr. Lincoln being thrifty.
Yeah. Oh, the outhouse. El Komodo. Huh, twins.